Hey James, so as a gay man, it completely blew me away to see how many people showed up for the Women's March all around the world this past weekend. For those of you watching who have been living under a rock these past 2 months, there was a massive worldwide protest held this past Saturday, the day after inauguration, to protest every single thing that President-elect Donald Trump and his staff stand for. It was a march to promote women's rights, to promote equality, to promote the causes of all the marginalized groups that are being affected by this new regime here in America. For those of you out there who don't know me, who are just meeting me for the first time, I am a very passionate activist. I have been out protesting since Donald Trump was first placed into office here in America back in November, and it really affects me to see how many people across the world, not even just here in America, we had almost 3 million people protesting across our country, protests happening in all 50 states, then protests happening in all 7 continents around the world. Yes, even Antarctica protested, and over 75 countries around the world showed up to let Donald Trump and his staff know that we are not going to stand for these changes that they are trying to implement, that they are just, they stand for something that this country should not stand for. We have made so much progress over the past 8 years in terms of equality, whether it be LGBT rights, equal pay for women. We're finally closing that wage gap. We're finally seeing women of power emerge all across the world. We almost had the first female president here in the United States, which, it shouldn't be that big of a deal. We should have had a female president sooner, but we are just such a backwards country when it comes to that sort of thing that it's taken us this long and we still don't have it. 45 presidents now, and not a single damn one was female. It breaks my heart, the current state of the country, the current place that we are, James. It's horrible to see what we are becoming and what people are associating us with, but I hope that the marches this past weekend show the world at large that we are not going to stand for this. We are not going to stand for the tyranny that Donald Trump and his people are trying to implement all across the world. We are seeing so many instances. This is his 4th day in office, I believe, and it's blowing my mind how much he's trying to affect, how many people he's trying to bring down with his new policies. And I've been in a downward spiral of depression ever since the election results were announced that night. And it's just been so hard to wake up every single day and see some new piece of news, some new appointment in his cabinet, just anything, any single tweet that he sends out, which I know are meant to be distractions against what is probably going to be one of the worst 4 years the Americas have seen in quite some time, especially considering how much we have advanced over the past 100 years alone. It's so hard to find the good these days, James, and the Women's March this weekend really did help me find the good. It really did do something to me that changed something in me. Being surrounded by so many people who were just as passionate as I am, if not more so, to see them standing out there and just fighting for what's right. Do I think that this protest accomplished anything at all? I do. I really do, because I think it is a starting point for something greater. The way that I feel about these protests, these marches, these active ways that we can get our voices out there is that this isn't a one-time thing. This isn't a one-off instance. It's a phenomenon. It is the start of a movement that we have to see forward. We have to educate ourselves. We have to promote those who are fighting for us in government. We have to be out there on every election day from here on out, trying to get the people that are going to change things from the inside out into office, because that's where it's really going to work. That's where it's really going to help. We have to let this current regime know that everything that they are currently doing, we're not going to let them get away with. We have to take a stand. We have to fight for what is right. And it started that January 21st, the day after inauguration, the day that an estimated only 250,000 people, that's right, only 250,000 people attended Donald Trump's inauguration, which he seems to believe, alternative facts as it is, that this was the biggest inauguration to ever be attended by anyone ever, which is like, no. We know you're lying. We know you're trying to distract us. And it just blows my mind that 3 times that many people in Los Angeles alone showed up to march in downtown, let alone all across the world. I would love to see what the final numbers are on a global perspective. I know here in the US we almost had 3 million people out there between all 50 states protesting, and it just brings me so much hope for the future that I haven't had since November 8th, since I really did think that Hillary Clinton was going to be in office. I was so hopeful that day. We all were there for each other. We were all so excited together. I remember, I don't know if I told you this, James, I was in a bar that night with my college roommate and his boyfriend and a bunch of our other college friends, and we were watching the election results come in, and with each passing state that Donald Trump won, we just became more and more depressed, downtrodden, to the point where they weren't ready to call it, but it seemed like this is where things were going, that I just hugged my college roommate and his boyfriend simultaneously and said, "I'm so sorry for all of this. I feel so bad for all of this. I was looking forward to your wedding. They've been together 7 years today, and I was just so ready to attend their wedding in the next 4 years," which I know is going to happen. I know the two of them are just going to end up like married with like 1 million babies, and dogs are going to have so many cool dogs. And it worries me that the people I love, not even just myself, that the people I love are going to be so directly affected by a Trump presidency that I really do hope that all of these people across the country who are out there protesting with the Women's March continue to do so and continue to fight the good fight and continue to just be there for everybody, because that's what we need to do right now. We need to show each other that we're here for each other, and if that means going out and protesting every now and then go do it. If that means updating your Facebook status with how absurd and ridiculous this all is, go ahead and do it. Do not let anybody tell you that now that the election's over, now that inauguration has happened, we have to move on with our lives, because no, that is not what is going to happen here. We're not going to let this die. This does not die with us. We are going to keep this fight going for as long as it takes. And if that means 4 years, if that means 8 years, I don't fucking care. I'm gonna keep fighting. So James, tell me your perspective on the Women's March this past weekend. Did you love it? Are you all for it? Were there aspects of it that you didn't quite agree with? I would say that the one thing, this is just a minor note that a lot of people are still adjusting to in our new society, is that a lot of the signs that I was seeing, while I loved every single protest sign I was seeing, a lot of them had to do with the female body in particular, uteruses and vaginas, and just protesting how females are more than just their body parts. Well, yes, that's true, because there are women out there who don't have vaginas, who don't have uteruses, and we need to stand up for them too. If your feminism isn't intersectional, it's not feminism. So just keep that in mind as we're going about these protests, because I know a lot of trans women out there who were directly affected by this, and I don't want to see them hurt, even if it is unintentional. I know that nobody is doing this maliciously. Nobody is making these adorable uterus signs. That's the place that we are in our society right now, is that we're making adorable caricatures of uteruses on protest signs. But I don't want to see them affected negatively by these signs. So just keep that in mind as we're protesting, people out there who are in the protest land. But James, let me know your perspective on all this, and everybody out there who was watching this video, did you attend a march this weekend? Did you go out and protest? Let me know in the comments down below. Let's start a dialogue. Let's talk about the funniest signs we saw. I don't know. And that about wraps it up for my video this week. I will catch you all next week. Bye!